Hey there, Andre here from Peak Motorcycles, back for another video. We're still in lockdown in the UK, only a few days to go, so I thought I'd get the last couple in. In this video, I'm going to be talking about racks. This is probably not that exciting to people that are only going to buy a CRF300L for trail riding, because you'll never have anything on the back. If that's you, this is not for you. I know that some people are looking to use these bikes to do things like the Trans-Euro Trail and other longer distance journeys where it's almost like a small adventure bike. And for that, you're going to need to have some way to carry stuff on it. So my bike came with a Honda rack from the dealer. I think this is fine. I mean, it seems to be quite well made. It comes as two parts. One is these side arms, the other is the top plate. It's also the same one that they use for the top box. So if you want to get a top box for your bike, and I don't particularly, then this is the one to get. So it came fitted to the bike. Nothing else was available at the time. However, since then, I've also come across this. So this is the Honda H2C rack. So H2C is an accessories brand of Honda's. They're made out in Thailand. I had this one delivered just recently, so I was going to compare the two of them. As you can see, they're very similar in size. The H2C one has the side grab handles. It also has the mesh on the top, so if you just want to secure something to the top of it, it's probably better. Having said that, it won't take the top box, so the original Honda one is still the one for you if you want the top box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a quick comparison side by side. I'm going to take the Honda one off my bike, I'm going to weigh them both, give you a comparison of those, and then I'm going to put the H2C one back on the bike, and I think I'll leave it like that. So just a couple of things to mention on the standard Honda rack is it does have these little lugs underneath, and there's 4 of those which are just useful just for securing things. Those are welded on, they seem pretty solid, and they have the same on the other side. So these 2 little lugs, one here and one just there. On the H2C, they've just got 2 of them at the back, just there. There's nothing else further towards the front, but to be honest, there's that many places where you could secure it towards the front that I don't really think that's a problem. So first up, I'm going to remove the Honda rack. So this is a 6mm Allen fitting, hex fitting, just 4 bolts. There we go. There's 2. Okay, so the rear bolt is the shorter one. The longer bolt is the front one. Let's go around and do the other side. Okay, so that's just coming loose now. There you go. That's all 4 bolts out. So you know, these have the spacers on each side, and these just fit into there. So take the one out on that side as well. And there we go. I'll just ease that forwards. These are the 2. These ones here. These are the 2 that just go in either side on there. And then that just comes off. That was easy. So there we have it. That's the Honda rack. As you can see under there, there's the four nubbins I mentioned. And this is the H2C rack. See them 2 side by side. I'm just going to do a weigh-in now just to see how they compare. Okay, so here we go to weigh the 2. So first up, this is the Honda rack as provided by the dealer, complete with the plate for taking a top box. And that weighs in at 1.86 kilos. The H2C rack, which is the Honda accessory rack, weighs in at 1,577, so it's about 300 grams lighter. Now, just to make sure I'm doing a fair comparison, I am going to put the bolts on there as well. This is the 4 bolts and spacers that go with the H2C rack, and that takes it up to 1.7 kilos pretty much exactly. I'm just going to compare again with the Honda rack with the bolts, just so we know exactly where we're at. So the Honda rack with the bolts and the spacers comes in 1.96 kilos. So there is actually quite a big difference. I actually thought that the H2C rack would be heavier just because this one's got this big bit of plastic on it, but that's quite clearly not the case. So there is a bit of a weight saving to be had, and especially when the weight is that high up on the bike, 100 grams here and 100 grams there can make quite a difference. So these are the fitting components that came for the H2C rack. You get the 4 bolts, and then you get these 4 spacers here. These 2 silver ones, these were the inserts that go into the side, that go in just here. The front, those were already on the bike. I assume they come from new. And these 2 are the same, except they go on the back of the bike. And I think those are just to make sure that it's gripping metal to metal through the plastic components. I think one of the the challenges with this, when it does seem to fit really well. You know, it's bang centered on the holes on the bike. The challenge with that is that when it's so tight fitting is actually having just enough space to push the spacers in. So it just takes a little bit of care to do that. So if you want to see that from a slightly lower angle, it's basically being able to get these pieces in behind the fittings. So the first one goes into the hole. Now this is a really tight fit. I mean, I guess that's a good thing, because you really don't want to have any play in this when it's on the bike, but it is also a bit tricky to squeeze the spacers in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that really is, I don't know if you can, you probably can't quite see that. We pull that round to the side. So that in there really is millimetre perfect, just this bit in here. So that's without having the bolt put through yet. So yeah, really pleased with how well that's fitting to the bike. And then last but by no means least, one more in here. So the silver piece goes in there on the inside. Just nudge that into place. I think these are also the bolts that hold the seat down. And then I think there's probably ways to get this to stay in. You could use a little bit of grease just to hold it in place. That normally works quite well. I'm just going to carry on like this just for a moment, unless I get very frustrated with it. Oh no, we're good, we're good. And there we go. Okay, that's great. And again, that's a really, really snug fit. All done. So that was my video of comparing the Honda H2C accessory rack, which is this one, with the standard Honda rack that will take the top box, which was the one that's on at the beginning of the video. I think for off-road riding, especially if you're not going to use the top box, the H2C one is definitely the way to go. It's cheaper, it's about half the price. It also seems to be very well made. Welding is at a similar level to that on the other rack, and it just fits the bike perfectly. It also saves a few hundred grams, which I know isn't a huge amount, but when you've got a bike that's as heavy as this for riding off-road, every little bit helps, especially when it's high up. So I hope this has been interesting and useful. If it has, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.